going to get lost in everything, and we're going to lose. I don't want to say the forest for the trees, but we're going to lose a firm understanding of where everybody was and when. So I'm going to start playing some audio here. Let me bring this column in. Just there. I'm going to start playing some audio here. This is audio from 12:23. 12:23. Let me pull it up. 12:23. This is the minute, the very minute that Charlie Kirk heard the Big Bang. We all heard the Big Bang. The Big Bang heard around the world. So I'm going to play this audio. This is the first dispatch broadcast that was played that night, that afternoon. You're going to hear Alpha 35. We have shots fired. Charlie Kirk is down.
Alpha 34, we have shots fired. Charlie Kirk is down.
So that is Alpha 34. We have shots fired. Charlie Kirk is down. That radio call went out at 12:23. That's consistent. And why I play that is I'm letting you know that our timeline is correct. So when we play the rest of these, they're all relative to that first dispatch. So if we know exactly the second Charlie Kirk went down, and we do believe we know that, it was around 12:23 and 30 seconds, give or take. If we know that, we now can build off of that timeline as we play the rest of these recordings. Here is a recording saying he's on his way to the hospital. This is 30 seconds later, and this is consistent with what you guys saw.
Hey, we did have shots fired. He's on his way to the ambulance. He's on his way to the hospital.
Engine 31 and medic ambulance 35. Respond to unknown incident type. At 3, off, in Utah Valley U. On fire 2.
So I don't know if you heard that. It was breaking up in my ear. But he says, hey, we did have shots fired. He's on his way to the ambulance, on his way to the hospital. Now, here's a critical play here, because just seconds after that broadcast, this was when we all took a deep sigh of relief because we thought they had the perpetrator. This is the broadcast announcing that they have, in fact, captured or arrested a suspect. This was the George Zen arrest, but here's the audio.
3 in a second, clear and respond to SSUDU with an active shooter.
Alpha 11, I've got one in custody.
Copy, 1 in custody.
Yeah, so Alpha 11 got one in custody, and then the dispatcher says, copy, 1 in custody. That took place a minute, 7 seconds after the initial broadcast. A minute, 7 seconds after the initial broadcast. Now, this is an interesting one because it confirms what we heard from Brian Harpole in the Sean Ryan interview, that they were flying up the highway with Charlie Kirk actually hanging out of the car. This is confirmation of that over the police radio. He says, 212, everybody get off the radio. I've got a black SUV northbound on Wolverine Way, passenger doors open, someone trying to hang out of it.
212, everybody get off the radio. I've got a black SUV northbound on Wolverine Way. Passenger door is open. Someone's trying to hang out of it.
That broadcast right there was less than 4 minutes after the Big Bang. So they had already gotten Charlie Kirk from the scene of the incident into the SUV and were flying up the highway with someone hanging out of the car. So here is a bit of confusion, our first little bit of confusion that enters. This is where they think they have another victim because of someone else hanging out of the car.
I assume this is possibly another victim. They've got one hanging out of the car.
So there was some confusion there. Hey, maybe we have a second victim. Why are people hanging out of the car? I understand Charlie's a big guy. I do understand that. And I understand when you're initially putting him in, it's going to be difficult to get a 6'4" Charlie Kirk into the car sideways. But you would think as they're flying up the highway, at some point somebody would bend his legs and close the door. I would think. But we have yet another broadcast discussing someone hanging out of the car. This is a third broadcast that someone's hanging out of the car.
Copy 2530. In a vehicle 50 South 1200 Weston, Orem, they have one hanging out of the car. We're not sure if they're a patient or if they're just trying to get out of the area.
So this is a little bit of confusion again, that this could be somebody fleeing the scene of the crime. You might have somebody fleeing the scene of the crime. And so you can understand where the police are in this situation saying, well, do we pull this car over? Are we slowing it down on the way to the hospital when someone might have been wounded? Or do we let him go, assuming it's the victim, or do we pull it over, assuming it might be someone trying to get out of the car? Now, if you wonder, and as I have, if you wonder if the finishing off, and this is a dark, twisted, drab way to think about this, and I hate to even raise the issue, but I have to because I've mentioned it, that there could have been a fatal incident inside the car. That I my working hypothesis is that Charlie Kirk was not just taken down one way. They would never have left it as a. They would never have left it up to a single gunshot from the Losi Center, a 142-yard gunshot that they just hoped was fatal. If you're going to take someone down, you're going to make sure they're taken down. And we know they made sure they were taken down because, I hate to be dark about it, but they didn't have any plan. They didn't have security plans the next day. Nobody had flight plans the next day. I mean, it just seems obvious to me that it was a plan. It was a group plan to make sure he didn't make it out of there alive. And so I've raised the issue of perhaps there was some electricity involved. Perhaps there was something that exploded under his shirt or shocked him under his shirt, or some sort of activity under the shirt that caused the shirt to move like that. Maybe that there were two small puncture wounds, it looks like, or wounds of some sort on his arm. Maybe he was hit with a taser, or maybe he was hit with a hypodermic needle on his arm. And then of course we were told about the broken vertebrae. I wondered, when did that happen? Did they do that in the car? Make sure he's incapacitated, get him to the car, and then, in other words, it raises the possibility that he was uncooperative. I hate to say it, but I have to at least mention it, because this is like a 10 or 12 minute ride to the hospital. This is a long ride to the hospital. It wasn't right next door. You're driving at highway speeds. Why is someone hanging out of the car? Fold his legs up and shut the door. It doesn't make sense to me. So I think this is important evidence that at least whatever was happening in the car needs to be evaluated, needs to be examined. Maybe that's why the car was removed so quickly from the fleet, of the rental fleet. Maybe that's why the car was cleaned and detailed and sold so quickly. I don't know. I can't, all I can do is speculate, because they've done such a lousy job of preserving the evidence. If we had the evidence, we wouldn't have to speculate, now would we? This is 12:28, so this is 5 full minutes after the Big Bang, and they're still not to the hospital. He's still hanging out of the car. Here is how the dispatcher words it.